Hello once again. The purpose of this lesson is to teach you modulation using a diminished 7th chord. If you're watching this lesson, I assume that you already know your keys and key signatures, both in major and minor, and are familiar with construction of chords. Modulation refers to moving from one key to the next, which is a very common practice in intermediate and advanced music. I assume that you already know the chord function within each key as well, at least the primary chord functions, but as a reminder, let us go through the chords in the key of C major. The key of C major, the first chord is C, E, G, C major, and that is called the tonic. Chord number 2 is D, F, and A, and that's D minor, also called the supertonic. Chord number 3, E, G, and B is the mediant, E minor. Chord number 4, F, A, C is F major, also known as the subdominant. Chord number 5, G, B, and D, G major is the dominant. Chord number 6, A, C, and E. A minor is a submediant. And chord number 7, B, D, and F is the leading tone. Notice that I've outlined these 3 chords. Tonic is where the music wants to resolve to. It gives music a sense of resolution. The purpose of the dominant chord is to build tension. So we have tension and resolution. Leading tone is a substitute for dominant, which functions quite the same way. It builds tension. The chord that we will be dealing with is the leading tone. And to add the tension, we want a leading tone 7th, fully diminished 7th chord, which would entail the triad B, D, F plus a minor 3rd. And I hope you know what that is. That is an A flat. Now let's look at this particular chord because it's the most versatile chord in music. This chord can be used to modulate from any key, well, in this particular case, this chord from the key of C to any other key by respelling of the chord. Let's see how that works. If we respell this chord as D, F, A flat, and instead of B, a C flat. As you know, chords are built in thirds, so we have to keep the relationship of a third constant. The original chord was the leading tone of the key of C. This chord, which is identical in sound to the original chord, however it is respelled, it is a leading tone of the key of E flat, or E flat minor. E flat having 3 flats and E flat minor having 6 flats. By the way, we call that a remote modulation. Anytime that you move from a key to another key with an accidental difference of more than 1 sharp or flat, we call that a remote modulation, as opposed to a closely related one. For example, if we were to move from the key of C to the key of G with 1 sharp, that would be a closely related modulation. Moving from the key of C to E flat with 3 flats, or E flat minor with 6 flats, would be considered a remote modulation. Let us respell the same chord again. Instead of D, let's call that a C double sharp. We can respell E, F as an E sharp, A flat as a G sharp, and C flat as a B. Now that would be the leading tone of the key of D sharp minor. And as you know, the key of D sharp minor has 6 sharps, again a remote modulation. Let's go on. Taking the second member of the chord, we can respell the chord, the third member of the chord, we can respell the chord as E sharp instead of an F, G sharp, B, and D. Now that becomes the leading tone of the key of F sharp or F sharp minor. F sharp having 6 sharps and F sharp minor with 3 sharps. We can start on F again. F, A flat, respelling B as a C flat. Of course, we do that in order to keep the relationship of a third constant. And E and D as an E double flat. Now, that is the leading tone of the key of G flat with 6 flats. Lastly, let's take the last member of the chord and respell the chord as G sharp, B, D, and F. Now, the function of the chord is the leading tone of the key of A or A minor. A having 3 sharps and A minor being the relative minor of the key of C having none. So you can see that the same chord can be respelled in 5 different ways, and that's what makes the diminished 7th chord a very unique chord. These are all identical chords. The only thing that is different is the spelling of them. These chords are all functioning as leading tones, thereby facilitating the modulation to the subsequent keys. And keep in mind that here we're only dealing with primary leading tones. B, diminished 7th, is a primary leading tone of the key of C, for example, moving to a primary leading tone of the key of E flat or E flat minor. These chords could also be secondary leading tones. A secondary leading tone of the key of C could move to a primary or secondary leading tone of the key, any other key. That's what makes the diminished 7th chord the most versatile chord, because using one single chord, it is possible to modulate from any key to any other key. And that is the only chord that provides us with such opportunity. So I hope that this lesson has been helpful, and I look forward to see you in our lessons so we can put this theory to practice and learn how to use the diminished 7th chord.